on, everybody, let's rock and roll! Hi guys, Steve from Patriot Bars here. Today we're going to cover the basics of rucking, so stay tuned. Now this is a long video, but I'll try to include timestamps so that you can refer back to it, whatever parts are of interest to you at a later time. In this video, I'm going to share everything that I know about rucking. And after the intermission, we'll discuss some various things relating to cold weather gear and so forth. Now, I know, in most parts of the world, it's flipping hot right now. But the time to prepare for the cold is when it's warm, believe it or not. You wait until the last minute, and most of the gear that you may very well need might be sold out due to high demand. It's happened to me before. But I digress. Now, what we're going to cover today is the absolute basics of rucking, for those of you who have never rucked before. And we're using rucked as a verb here. Ruck can also be used as a noun when referring to the pack itself, but I digress again. Now, if you're advanced at rucking, then there probably isn't anything in this video that will apply to you, and maybe I'll see you in the next video. But for those of you who are still with me, let's rock and roll right into it. Now, before we head back out there, we have to talk about the basic straps on a ruck or a pack. This is an assault pack, not really a ruck. Now, what's the difference between an A-pack and a ruck? Well, rucksacks usually have heavy external frames, and I'll show you my rucksack later. And packs, well, they usually don't have frames, or if they do, they're smaller internal frames, maybe just a stiff piece of plastic or a couple of aluminum stays that would go internally in the pack somewhere to help stiffen them up. Well, anyways, now onto the straps. This strap near my waist, really over my belly button or my navel, is called the kidney strap. This strap up here by my chest is called the sternum strap. These straps on the side are called load lifter straps. Some packs have them, some don't, and they will help lift the load up when you pull on them. And finally, you have the shoulder straps down here. Once again, shoulder straps, load lifter straps, kidney strap, should be relatively tight, sternum strap. Those are the straps of a pack or a ruck. Now, one other thing I should mention is if you're a paratrooper, then your pack is going to have additional straps. I am not a paratrooper, so I have no right to talk about it, but it is a thing. Guys, a common mistake that you need to make sure you don't make is when it's time to take your ruck off, don't forget your different straps. I mean, you can't be like, loosen this one up, and slide my arm out here. Time for a nice break. See what I did here? That's a dramatization, but you can choke yourself out if you don't undo the sternum strap. Now, the proper way to take off any ruck or pack is sternum strap, kidney strap. Now I'm not going to choke, and then loosen up these shoulder straps. Don't need to mess with the load lifters. Then you can swing your pack off front like this, pick it up, hug it, whatever you want. Now, if you're wearing kit, there's another way to do it, and I'll show you later when I've got kit on. Now, there are a couple different ways to put a ruck or a pack on. The way a lot of us prefer from the ground is scoop it up like this, and right on. From here, you kind of lean forward, you figure out where your straps are, and then you tighten them. Shoulder straps. From there, I can work on my other straps, but it's the easiest way to get it up off the ground. The other way to put your pack on, if you don't want to flip it up, if for some reason you can't, maybe you're in a vehicle like a van or something and you don't want to hit the lights on the ceiling, or possibly it's on an elevated surface like a truck bed. The other way is to simply grab the strap, carefully get it up, and from here I can take my time and adjust. One thing to note about the method where you flip it on, if your ruck has a metal frame such as a Alice, you can smack yourself in the head with that frame. If you're wearing a Kevlar, you might smack your Kevlar, or if your ruck weighs an inordinate amount, like 75 to 100 pounds, that's a lot of weight on your neck. So just be careful and pick the right way for your situation. Now, what's actually in here? Since my objective today is exercise, not tactical training, not survival or anything like that, what all that I have in here is a good old-fashioned sandbag. See? That's about 25 pounds, no big deal. And all this is a bunch of duct tape, contractor garbage bags, and sand. I recommend Quikrete sand as opposed to play sand, but whatever sand you get, drier the better. And then I use old Sophie shirts, old Carhartt shirts, old pieces of clothing to keep that sandbag a little bit up off the bottom so it doesn't flop into my lower back. I just use old clothing, old boots to keep that sandbag where I want it. What else do I have in here? Well, I've got my ultra cold weather gloves. We're probably not going to need them today. Balaclavas, other warming layers. Where we are in Michigan, it's 20, 25. We're probably not going to need this, but I like to keep anything I might need in here. Cold weather gear, hats, gloves, anything I might need in case I'm trapped in the middle of nowhere. It happens. In the front, I've got Nalgene bottles in these insulated containers. I've had these for a while. I've never had any problems with those. This little pouch here contains my Caminega compass tied down, of course. This pouch here contains flashlight and, of course, a little multi-tool. Gotta have a knife on you at all times. Now, as promised, I'd like to show you how I find it's best to take your pack off while you're wearing a kit. It's important that you don't get tangled up in your rifle here. So first, I undo the sternum strap. Then I reach behind here and I do the shoulder strap on my non-dominant hand. Notice I'm being safe. I fish my arm out like such. Then I put my arm through the rifle sling like this. And then I swing the pack out this way across my canteens or whatnot. Now I set it down in front. And then I maintain control of my weapon at all times so that I can get into this pack. My rifle's not in the dirt or the snow. Keep heads up. Pull out whatever I need to from that pack. If I need to stand up and use my weapon, I'm right back ready to go. That's how I like to do it.
When you feel the water rising, you're about to drown. Can't take all the pressure, gasping for a breath. Your thrashing heart begins to tire. Don't close your eyes. We'll make it out alive. You're not alone, never alone. It's pouring tonight, but it won't rain forever. I've been here before. gasping for a breath. Your thrashing arms begin to tie. Catching under pressure, grasping for a breath, and now you're slipping and grabbing up.
When it comes to public trails like this, you'll notice that they will ice quicker than the surrounding terrain. Now why that is because, and I'm not a meteorologist, but all the packed down snow is more likely to turn into ice, anything else including snow that hasn't been walked on. I've got my ice chains on so I can navigate this trail. Without it, it'd be hard. Now guys, it's okay to try a little bit right to ruck. You've got to be careful not to slip, but you can pick up the pace or slow it down whenever you want. It's important to remember that when you're rucking along, you're going to get very hot, you're going to get very sweaty. So it's important for me just to take off this layer that I don't need and stow it in my back. Now once you delayer, you got to get moving quickly, otherwise you will get cold. You really can't delay. I don't know if you saw my cold weather trail running video where I accidentally fell into a frozen stream. Now behind us we have a frozen. Now, based on temperature and what this looks like, I'm 99% sure that it's frozen over, that I could walk across it if I wanted to, but I'm not going to risk it. I know that's deep. If I fall in, you know, I could die or get hypothermia or something like that. So because I don't need to be out there, I'm not going to try. Now here's something I want to mention. If you're in these wheat fields or straw fields or whatever the heck they are, you got these little poking up sticks or tumbleweeds or cattails, whatever the heck this is. These can pull your spikes right off. You know, be aware of stuff like this. That pile over there, we think it's a swan's nest, but I'm not a wildlife expert. If any of you know what those nest-like things are, you know, let me know, leave a comment or something like that. It's important to remember to drink even if you don't feel like it. See, in the cold, a lot of guys, including myself, we just don't feel quite as much thirst, but I'm going to drink anyway because I know I need it. As the ruck drags on, you know, I'm starting to get tired, maybe you will too. So it's very tempting to kind of do this. Well, this is horrible. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is remind yourself to stand up straight, shoulders back, and just soldier on like this. You know what they say, hill sprints make you a cyborg. Not a sprint, whatever.
I am Locutus of Borg.
This is what's meant by a rucksack. This is a small, medium Alice. It's one of the smaller rucks out there, but you can see it's got a metal frame. The metal frame is protected by this, you know, old-fashioned 70s and 80s style kidney belt. And what I did is I put my kidney belt behind the frame like such, because generally speaking, I don't use a kidney belt with the medium Alice because I usually have the Alice equipment web gear on. I don't have it right now, but this is another way to stow that kidney belt strap away from your body. And guys, this is just a pack rain cover. I find them to be very helpful. They fasten through here like such. It's not raining, but I can use this if I want to sit on something dry, and it covers this nice. Now, what we've got here is I've got an e-tool, got some medical equipment, Each one of these pouches, and I'm not going to empty them all, contains, you know, little survival items. There's no sandbag inside. It actually is a bunch of camping equipment, rain gear, camelback. Got some chow in here, what's left over from some MREs, and a good old canteen pouch, Arctic canteen pouch with an Arctic canteen in there. Now the fact that this has a metal frame that I can easily grab makes it very easy for me to flip it up. And I try to carefully follow down to where I have my shoulder straps, tighten them. Sternum strap. Now most Alice packs do not have sternum straps. You have to buy them and stick them on, but they're cheap, so there's no excuse not to get one if you want one. In the event that you need to doff your ruck quickly, you've got the quick release. We already covered that you need to get rid of that sternum strap. And then the quick release allows you to out. So if you're slung up with your rifle, keep it slung like a necklace, quick release out. And then bang bang. Sternum strap, quick release, bang bang. Now to get those quick releases back into service, get your straps back into service, you click them in like this, and then you snap. Then you give it a good tug to make sure it's not going anywhere. Now, here's what the quick release would look like. Like magic. Goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. When you want to tighten your shoulder straps, you pull on this. When you want to loosen your shoulder straps, you pull on this. See? There's a little grabbing device here with some a paracord that helps you release. So don't get confused and start pulling on this, but I'm pretty sure you won't. There's a snap there. One other thing to mention, folks, is tie down your Alice clips. Alice clips can come undone. Pretty much anything can come undone. This is gutted paracord in a square knot. Now, maybe it can come undone, but as of yet, I haven't had these falling apart on me. Gutted paracord, square knot. Found out, oh good, somebody took the time to build a little I don't know how much protection that's going to offer them, but it's not mine, so I'm going to leave it alone. And thumbs up to whoever had the bushcraft installed to make this whole thing. Now we're out exploring here today, Charlie and I, and what we're seeing is all these cattails, no trees in the horizon. These are like 8, 9 foot tall, way taller than me. We estimate that this is a swamp. There's every reason to believe it is, so I'm going to avoid the area. And we're headed back into the forest. See, we were right. This is more swamp. Had we decided to push forward, obviously, we would have been in potentially dangerous territory. If you don't know where you're at, obviously be sensible. I'm not a bushcraft expert. I'm out here for exercise, so I'm being sensible. we got here, I believe that's rabbit poop. Nice, round little poop turds. They look like Cocoa Puffs.
Munchie, crunchy, chocolate, Cocoa Puffs!
Now check this out. This tree is barely supported. You can see that a strong gust of wind, or several strong gusts of winds could knock this down. You always have to be careful whenever you're in the woods that you don't get hit by falling trees or tree branches. I was in Yellowstone a few years back. The wind was blowing, trees were falling all over the place. One of them hits you, you could die, or get maimed and then die slowly from the elements. So always be careful. Not a windy day today, but the more you know. Remember guys, when using a compass, hold it about arm's length in front of you in case you have any metal. It will interfere with the north-seeking arrow. One thing to be aware of, guys, is protect your eyes out here. A lot of people don't understand how easy it is to get poked in the eye in the woods. I can't tell you how many times I almost got my eyes caught on branches, or if somebody walks through this ahead of me and I'm looking elsewhere and then it snaps back and it scratches my eye. Now this is a little wimpy thing, but the bottom line is you don't want anything touching your eyeball. We're not wearing safety glasses out here. And another hazard is bending down in the dark to pick something up and then poke. See, this isn't going to take your eye out, but it will hurt. Here's another example of what I'm talking about. Boing right in the eye. Ouch. Tastes like the 80s. Guys, thanks for spending this time outdoors with me, Rucking. It was nice to get out in the woods, but remember, even if you don't have access to woods, you can still enjoy the health and exercise benefits of rucking. 90% of the time when I'm rucking, I'm just doing it around my own neighborhood. You gotta be safe, you gotta have the proper gear if you're out here, but don't let anything stop you from just getting out there and doing something for your health. This is Steve from Patriot Bars, signing off. Train hard, God bless America, or wherever it is that you happen to live, my friend.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Well, I hope you were able to grab a snack during the intermission. I've got mine here, an apple and a soy-free protein bar. Believe it or not, it's very hard to find soy-free protein bars nowadays. Guys, you gotta watch the soy. It can be an endocrine disruptor in men. It can send your testosterone level down. Some guys maybe not, but a lot of guys are better off avoiding soy. Now the next part of the video is pretty long, but in it we're gonna cover cold weather gear, boots, canteens, water bladders, and any other little tidbit of information that I picked up over the course of a year or so that it took to film this video, so stay tuned. Oh, good apple. Well, there's a few different ways of thinking when it comes to packing pack. Right now I'm just using this essentially as a duffel bag, carrying some spare clothes in it. Ranger rolling is better. I don't have time for that, so I'm just shoving everything in plastic bags. Now, I don't intend to carry this on my back. In order to keep things neat and squared away, I secure the kidney strap behind the back, tighten everything up here, and I use the grab handle. Now my A-pack becomes a duffel bag when I need it. Now if you're just starting out and you're new to rucking, I recommend spending a decent amount of money on a good pack like a old USGI Alice pack, or some other type of pack that is sturdy and well built. The problem with the cheap packs is that if you put any significant amount of weight in them, they'll tear, usually at the shoulder straps here, like this one did. Now this pack is still useful to me, but not for rucking. I just keep closing it. Now, I think the best way to carry a sandbag is in the top radial compartment of an Alice pack. This is a medium Alice pack, and this is an old large Alice pack. Now as far as the amount of weight you want that sandbag to be, this is too much. This is 35 pounds. This is probably won't fit. I would say about 20 pounds. What I did with this pack is I tore it. The radio pouch tore because I overloaded it. I had a van battery in it, and the van battery weighs, what, 40, 50 pounds, so this pack gave up the ghost while I was rucking my van battery to the auto parts store. In fact, I made a whole video about it. If you care to see it, I will leave a link in the description below. So my recommendation when first starting out is a USGI Alice pack, 20-pound sandbag, load it into the top radial compartment. That keeps the weight on your upper back, not your lower back, which tends to, it bothers me, and I feel it probably bothers other people too. Now, when we're talking about rucking specifically for exercise, the question becomes, what do you put in your ruck to make it heavy enough to exercise with? Yeah, you can fill it up with tactical and survival gear, but if you just want to get to business quickly, you can't go wrong with a sandbag. I mean, there are all sorts of options. Some people use weight plates, dumbbells, kettlebells, and I know certain types of rucks and exercise vests have these dedicated plates that go inside them, but in these, I feel like these are very uncomfortable options, and for me, nothing beats a good old-fashioned sandbag. For a size comparison, this is a 24-pound sandbag, and this is a 35-pound sandbag. They're homemade. This is just contractor garbage bags, sand, preferably the driest sand you can get. You got to go to the hardware store. There's play sand, and then there's like the Quikrete sand. I feel like the Quikrete sand is usually a little bit better, but sometimes it's damp. So you got to be careful with that. And then you just keep tying and taping, or tie the sand into the contractor garbage band, tape, and then repeat. Multiple bags, a bunch of tape. But these sandbags, they're so sturdy. They, nothing hurts them, and they're cheap compared to this other stuff, and certainly more comfortable than having to wear something like this in a pack. Hey guys, as you can see, I'm outside going for a ruck. Can't see me, but I'll take my word for it. I got my pack on my back. I'm just in the neighborhood. I'm using the infrared camera because it's dark out. It's about 4:30 a.m. You can ruck wherever you happen to have a little bit of privacy or where you're allowed to be, a permissive environment. You don't have to go into the deep woods. I don't want to have to get my van and drive. I'd rather just use the area that I've got. Get it in quick and move on to something else. Just a nice normal neighborhood, guys, but it's still a good place to exercise. Look, there's a tennis court and a pool, but I never use that. Now let's take a look at the frustrating issue of canteens and water bladders freezing in the cold. Bear with me on this one, because at first I was having problems, but eventually I found solutions to those problems, so stay tuned. Also, you've got to remember that in the cold your water bladder will freeze here. This is my Camelback right here. Right now it's just slush. I tried drinking out of this. I could only get a few drops what was in the hose. This thing needs to be insulated if you're using it in the winter. Also, these old school USGI wintertime canteens, they can freeze up on you if the seal here is broken. I'm going to test this one real quick to see if the seal is broken. Unfortunately, the seals on both of my wintertime canteens malfunctioned. So we got blocks of ice in my canteens here. The rubber, well, it's supposed to seal to the plastic on the cap. Sometimes it gets brittle and non-functional. So what you essentially have here is just literally nothing, ice. There might be a couple of drops come out of this one, but you know that you got to really be sure that this thing is gonna work properly. See, otherwise this is just a block of ice. You go to drink this, you can't do it. Here's another example of your gear freezing up on you. You'll notice this is a pretty standard canteen, but you can see it's kind of bulging at the sides because it is in fact frozen. Let's try to see if I can get the cap off one-handed. I can. All right, cap's off. You can see a little bit of water on the top, but honestly, this is all you get. It's basically a block of ice in here. So these things will not work in the cold, folks. At least below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Just another example of something that doesn't work in the cold. Your wipes for taking a dump. See, now granted, you wouldn't be dragging this many out in the field with you. You'd just put them in a Ziploc bag. But this is what they look like when they're frozen. They're basically, a block of ice. This is what a brand new one should look like, cushiony soft for wiping your. The ones for actual babies, they tend to work the best in my opinion. There are other types. Camp hygiene. Let's see, what do we got? We got Blue Oz and scented field towels. These are good too, but they're expensive. So most of the time, I am just using good old-fashioned Huggies for actual babies. But again, we all have butts. We all need to stay clean, especially in a stir environment. So there you go. All right, let's see if I can find an example of what I was talking about before, having to protect your stuff from freezing. There we go. It's hard to see, but all right, this is a Camelback inside a backpack, little backpack that's insulated. See, now you got your pretty standard Camelback, but it's inside this insulated little backpack. Now, if I need to take this out and put it in something smaller, I will. But this thing's pretty compact, and I have used it in the winter, and I don't recall ever having frozen water to try to drink. So that's one way of handling the freezing problem. We'll work on the canteens a little bit later. One other thing to mention, I like to tape these things down so the cap doesn't flop off. I don't want contamination or sand or whatever to get in the area where I have to bite and gulp. Hopefully you can see that tape, but it's just some kind of tactical tape. I can't remember what it is. Another consideration is how to keep these things clean if they do get nasty. Okay, I'm just using, I don't know what other people use, but I use just dishwashing soap, Dawn in this case. You can see this is, a nasty mess. You wouldn't want to put your mouth on that, but I get it nice and soapy, then I run it under the spigot. Good enough. As far as what to fill your Camelbacks up with, or should I say water bladders, because, everybody's got a different type of bladder. Just bottled water, I think, is the best. I don't want to use water from the hose because that's going to cause me to get contaminated with bacteria from that hose. Now I find the best way to do it is just to hang the bladder or whatever the bladder is in on something. I'm using my Patriot Bars power cage to help me accomplish this task. See if I can do it one-handed. But basically, I'm just going to use the bottled water to fill this up. This is pretty much topped off, but you see where I'm going with this. Oh look, I'm spilling all over, but that's how it's done, at least around here. Here's another example of hanging a water bladder prior to filling it. This is a Hyder pack, not a Camelback. They work a little different. You'll notice I have a zip tie attached to this little thing here to keep the top of the Hyder pack handy. So this is all one unit. This slides onto this to keep it shut like a little a clasp, and that zip tie helps keep everything together so I can hang this and fill this with whatever water source I have available. Here's something to look out for, guys. I'm in a neighborhood, and this is just a little vacant lot between two neighborhoods that I'm passing through. But there are, you know, gopher holes and other types of things that you can twist an ankle in here, and sometimes it's hard to see them in the snow. Here's a little example of what I'm talking about. There's a sharp drop off in elevation here. Now, it's not really an animal hole, but you can see that there's a big divot here. So if you're going through here at a high rate of speed, you can really trip and fall. Now this is pretty large. It's large enough for me to stand in and move my feet around in, but some of these rabbit holes and gopher holes are literally just big enough to stick your boot in and twist your ankle. So you got to really be careful. In the winter, I like to keep a set of ice cleats available to me. I don't want to wipe out on the ice if I'm carrying a bucket or something like that. Put these on my McRae boots, and I tacked them up. I put a little hockey tape on this metal O-ring here that's really shiny, and we like to keep things tacked up if at all possible. You can see what I mean by the ice here. This is right outside my garage door. I almost wiped out on this a couple of times, but with the cleats, that ain't gonna happen. Here's something I forgot to mention. Ice cleats will tear a floor like this up, so I don't want to walk in here while wearing my cleats. What I do is I keep a pair of boots to change in out here, so that way I don't tear up my tile. I hope this ain't too girly and metrosexual for y'all. Just kidding. But a little bit of advice. In the winter, your hands can get all nasty. I find that this stuff is like the only thing that survives in the field. You know how normal lotion or cream is. Actually, I'm not a bloody mess right now, but you know, you can't lug it into the field with you. This you actually can, and it can prevent some serious dry skin, of which I've always been a sufferer of. So there you go, the more you know. Here's a quick tip. A lot of you guys already know this, but when there's a hill and this is just the edge of a drainage ditch, it helps to walk up sideways. Now, I'm not carrying much weight, but you kind of see where I'm going with this. Sideways walking up hills helps. Now, remember what I said before about zigzagging up hills to make it easier? Well, half the time you don't want to do that. Half the time you want to make it tough. So this is a little tiny hill. Just kind of trot up it. Makes it harder, but it makes you feel good. Don't always take the easy route. Aim for those hills when you're looking to exercise your legs. Now here's another option for carrying water around. Let's say you're operating out of a vehicle. Well, I like these metal insulated containers because it helps keep liquids either hot or cold depending on what you like, what season it is. And another good thing about it is now you don't have to drink out of water bottles that have been sitting in a vehicle getting potentially very hot in the summer. It's winter right now, but when you're traveling to an area where you're going to be training, these things are a good option. As you can see, I've got my Hyder pack all ready to go here, and I've got a insulated a carrier for it, and I'm about to stuff it in my ruck. That should prevent any freezing or this turning into slush. Also, I decided to give my Arctic canteens another try here. I filled them only with water up to about right here, because when the water naturally expands, it can push this top off. So we'll see if that makes any difference. We'll see if these still are going to freeze up on me. Here's something interesting. I was able to get my entire medium Alice, including the frame, into this Flyers kit bag. I'm not a flyer, but these things are readily available. See, I've got the entire thing in here. This kit bag allows me to carry my ruck around like a suitcase. It's very useful for transporting it inside a vehicle. That way it's not bouncing around in the back of a truck bed, or in my case, the back of my cargo van. Guys, here's a little something to keep in mind. In the winter, everybody gets snotty. I like to carry blue towels with me to wipe my nose so I don't become a boogery mess. And so my pockets don't get dirty, I carry a plastic bag to stick the snot rags in. Now here's one thing to really be aware of. Ice on a day where it gets cold after the day before was warm. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. You can barely tell, but this is like the slickest ice I've ever encountered. Look, I can barely stand up even though I'm trying my best. The way to cross this is either avoid it entirely. Obviously this is a sidewalk, but if this were on a trail, you stomp down and you're very, very careful. See, stomp down, carefully, but what you don't do is like this. Let your foot hit it like so, when you're going fast, and then slide out from under you, because that will cause you to fall. Now, if you're not carrying anything, no big deal. But if you got a ruck or a rifle, that could be a problem. You'll end up hitting yourself in the elbow on the way down. Now, another option to consider for icy conditions is ice chains. These are yak tracks. The chains are a little bit better for packed snow, and unlike the spikes, they don't dig into tile surfaces like this as much, asphalt, pavement, stuff like that. So it's another option, especially if you're concerned about tearing stuff up like the spikes can do. As you can see, the ice chains are working pretty good on the frozen pond here. I've encountered something that I'm a little bit perplexed at. What kind of animal tracks are these? Now this is my track from earlier, but look at this. I'm not sure what animal's making this. Pretty big, but they're obviously not human, because look, that's a human foot, size 10, 5, and there's something out here making these, and I don't know what it is. I kept my kit bag with my medium Alice in a freezing environment overnight. Now let's see if my preparations for keeping my water unfrozen were effective or not. First, let's check on the Arctic canteens. See if I can get them out of here one-handed. Top looks fine. Now let's see if the water's drinkable. Alright, let's test this first Arctic canteen. Drinkable water. Nope. Failed. Looks like the Arctic canteens are a no-go. Even filled only to right about there. The water freezes inside these things and they're just not usable. Now you'll notice I've got gloves on. I'm in my garage, so it doesn't make any difference, but I'm trying to illustrate a point. If you were in the field, you wouldn't want your hand to touch metal, because every time a bare hand touches metal, the metal conducts heat away from your skin, making you colder and colder and colder. So as time drags on, unless you warm up, you're just going to get colder and colder, and you can see my skin's pretty chapped and dry, and in the field you just can't afford to get worn down your skin or anything else. So don't touch metal with a bare hand out in the field. That should be a no-brainer, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Alright, let's see how my Hydro Pack held up inside this insulated winter container. I can hear the water sloshing around, and it certainly feels like it's not a block of ice. So give me a second and I'll take a drink of this. Well, it looks like the water inside the valve is frozen, so technically you can't drink out of it. I made the mistake of having this outside of the insulation, this hose outside of the insulation, so in fact it did freeze within the hose. Now, as you can see, the water inside the water bladder, inside the insulated outer container, it's completely fine. So the mistake I made, stupid rookie mistake, is not putting the entire hose within the contents of the insulated container. Obviously, I'm not spending enough time in the field. This is embarrassing, but there you go. Of course, another reminder to tape these caps down. When they get cold, they barely stay on to begin with. Even when they're warm, they flop off with every little jostle, I feel. And it doesn't matter what brand you buy, just tape them down. And this is the type of tape that you can peel off and reuse, I don't know, 10 times or so. It doesn't leave any residue. You came up with a solution to the Arctic canteen problem I was having. They were freezing on me. Let me get this out here and I'll show you. Problem is, I didn't have one of these insulated canteen covers specifically made for this. This is from the 80s, I think. But as you can see, not frozen. See, in and of itself, the Arctic canteen is just a piece of metal, aluminum, I believe. The advantage to this is that you can warm this up over a campfire if you take off this plastic thing. So that's pretty much what makes it Arctic, is the insulation in this or any other carrier that you put a container in that actually does the job. I've noticed the same thing with other types of bottles. It's the bag that does it. Without the bag, you have to warm this up over a campfire, and if there's no way to make a fire, you're screwed. Now here's an example of Oversocks, I think they're called. Basically, I've got my waffle layer right here. I've got my regular socks, wool, and then I've got an Oversock. So my feet are covered by 2 layers here, fits nicely into the boot, and these boots are half size, oversized to accommodate the Oversocks, therefore making them the best cold weather boots that I've got. 200 grams of insulation, but with the Oversocks, it feels like 300 grams. Now here's another good example of layering. As you can see, I've got a heavy outer glove on. Let me bite it off real quick. I'll show you what I have underneath. Underneath I have a very thin glove. I think these are made of wool. I can't really remember. This allows me to retain warmth and dexterity when my big heavy gloves are off, if I need to work my zipper to go to the bathroom or whatever. I'm not freezing to death without this glove on. It actually fits nice and tight, and believe it or not, it's touchscreen capable. I think it's Rothko, but just another example of trying to retain as much body heat as you can in the field. Obviously, I'm at home and not in the field, but these are very useful to wear under heavy gloves or mittens. As you can see, I'm rucking around my own neighborhood. However, I'm in a little ditch near a drain, so I'm not bothering anybody. I'm far away from their house, I'm not bothering them, and I'm making sure that I get my exercise in early in the morning. I think it's like 5 a.m. You don't have to be out in the middle of nowhere to ruck. You just need to do it consistently. It's like running, calisthenics, weights, healthy eating, sleep, stress management, you name it. It's all about consistency, guys. Also, I forgot to mention, it's Christmas Eve, and I find that one of the best ways to avoid putting on holiday pounds is don't stop exercising. Yeah, maybe you eat some dessert or something you're not supposed to eat, invited to a holiday party like I am tomorrow. Okay, fine, but keep exercising. Don't take a week off, because at the end of the week, you'll be like 5 pounds heavier. It's proven. One other thing to bear in mind is that under any conditions where stability and traction is an issue, boots with a wider base, such as this boot and this boot, look, you can literally put your finger on the base, it's so fat. These types of boots tend to provide more stability. I like them for rucking, I like them for uneven terrain, I like them for slipperiness. Boots that are better for running, such as this type of boot, they tend to be a little more slippery because obviously you don't have the wide base that helps keep you from rolling your ankle or something like that. Here's a little thing that I like to do that I wanted to mention real quick. When you have food like this, a plastic like this, you might want to eat this in the field in the cold. Well, you've got these big gloves on. It can be very hard to try to rip this open, and maybe you take your gloves off, maybe you fuss around with a knife or a multi-tool, but maybe you don't. So what I do is I pre-cut them. I don't know if you can see this, but yeah, they're pre-cut, so I can just grab both sides of the glove if it's cold, rip it, and get into my beef stick quick. Now this is extremely basic information, and most people understand this, but when you're going out in the cold, this is a soft shell, and this is a warming layer. You've got to have both. You can't just have a soft shell or just have a warming layer, because these warming layers, although they're very warm, and you try them on in the store or your living room, you're like, well, this will be great. The wind cuts through a warming layer like a knife through hot butter. This shell that can stop precipitation and wind pretty good, or something like this, a BDU coat, they're not very warm. You've got to have some kind of warming layer and a base layer underneath your warming layer. Very similar for your legs as well. You know, pants like this, weather resistant pants like this, BDU pants, modern BDU pants, they essentially are the equivalent of something like this for your legs. And then of course, Underneath, I've got ninja suit. Okay, that's essentially your warming layer for your legs. Quickly, I forgot to mention, this is what soft shell pants look like. Okay, they are just basically soft shell material. They can be worn as pants. They don't go over your regular pants, they go over your ninja suit. In something like this, basically just a little windbreaker. Windbreakers are pretty water repellent, and of course that goes over a warming layer most of the time. And finally, these big cotton duck coats. This is a Carhartt duck coat. These are really warm. They're exceedingly warm, but they're not useful in my opinion for rucking. They're just too big. Now what these are good for is, yesterday I changed my oil. I crawled under my vehicle in the snow and wet, and I changed my oil using this coat, and this kept me dry despite the fact that, you know, there was some water underneath my vehicle. That's the best use of this type of coat. It's extremely warm. It's about the equivalent of like all this together. I'm telling you, it's very, very warm. Ah, good old USA. Let's take a moment to appreciate the freedoms we have here. Yeah, people might give me some weird looks now and again, but you know, this is still a free country, and I appreciate that. One other problem you may encounter if you're new to winter training is keeping your digits warm, your fingers warm. See, heavy gloves like this, which will keep you warm, well, they don't offer much dexterity, and they don't typically have touch screen capable fingers, whereas a lighter glove like this does in fact allow you to touch your screen and gives you better dexterity. A solution to this problem that I've found is putting a cutoff glove over that light duty glove. I believe it's made of wool. So basically, fingerless cutoff gloves allow you touch screen capability and of course better weapon and equipment manipulation. Well, I'm approaching a frozen over swamp. Normally this is just, you know, about a foot of mush water. Whenever you approach a body of water, you gotta be really careful. Now, it's been below freezing for days here in Michigan, so I know that this body of water is going to be frozen over, so it's safe for me to cross. Just walk on snow on top of thick ice, so I'm safe. Hopefully you can see this. I'm going to try to clear some of this snow away with my boots so you can see how solid this ice is. It's very solid, very thick. There's several inches of snow on top. Not that makes any difference, but the takeaway lesson here is if there's any chance that you might fall through the ice, if it isn't solid, if you don't know for sure it's frozen, don't go out on a lake or a pond. You could get yourself killed. Well, that's it. God bless America, or wherever it is that you happen to live, my friend.